Hi, everybody. It's Matt from Discover College Soccer. I hope you're enjoying the podcast, whether that's on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I also wanted to let you know about the Discover College Soccer Study Table. This is our brand new online portal that is complete with a 14-part online course giving you all of the ins and outs of the college soccer recruiting process. There's also a wealth of resources such as checklists, templates. There's the spreadsheets that have every soccer program in the country, along with their coaches, their contact information, their social media information, some basic stats about the school, and more. Plus, there's an online community where you can ask your questions, share your wins, your losses, any questions that you may have around the college soccer recruiting process. It's all there at the Discover College Soccer study table that you can find at discovercollegesoccer.com/study table, and hopefully we will see you there. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Marc Neddo from Lyon College in Arkansas. Welcome, Coach.
Good morning.
Morning. Thanks for being here. Got a women's NAIA program there in Arkansas at Lyon, and we're hot and heavy in the college showcase season and tournaments and whatnot. So I'm sure your recruiting is full go. So where are you at right now? Kind of what's your calendar when it comes to recruiting? Are you still closing out 23s? Or you only look at 24s? What's that look like right now for you?
Yeah, it's that point in the year where I'm trying to close out 2023 and trying to shift more of the focus on 2024. So it's kind of doing both. Um, and also we're in transition, so we're transitioning from NAIA to NCAA Division III. So that's also getting the word out and um, recruiting on that front as well. So it's a busy time of year, but it's a positive time. I already have 7 commits, and I've got I'd say 4 to 5 more in the pipeline who are pretty close.
Wow. So when do you guys start competing officially as Division III?
So next fall will be our first
Oh,
official Division III season. So this
okay.
has been a kind of transition year.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck with that. So in your recruiting, are there kind of tournaments or places that are kind of must hit on your list each year for making those recruiting visits?
Yeah, I'd say probably the number one area is going to be the whole Dallas Metroplex area, just because of the volume of players and the caliber of players. Um, Another one I like um, is Memphis, Tennessee, just because I see that kind of as a future growth market, and its proximity, only about 2.5 hours away. Um, and then probably the third one. Is probably the St. Louis area. So
Okay. Now, in terms of recruiting, do you guys do any camps, or do you or your staff work any camps, or is that part of your recruiting philosophy at all?
we do mostly ID camps. We do about 3 a year, and then sometimes there's certain showcases that have little camp components attached to it, and sometimes we'll put our name in the to run part of the clinic or the camp part.
Okay. Well, when you're recruiting, do you spend much time talking to high school coaches, club coaches? Does that factor in to your recruiting at all?
Absolutely. So I just did a local Arkansas high school tournament, and I was able to connect directly with a couple of the coaches, and then also use that. And those wasn't able to meet with directly, I got their contact information and was able to set up a relationship with them. So that's ongoing right now. But yeah, we make connections with coaches and kind of a lot of them want to know your coaching philosophy and your school's attributes, and so we get that out there, and they can also help out match up good prospects with the school's attributes.
Yeah, no,
So
that makes a lot of sense. Well, whether it's at an event or a tournament or anything you're looking at, what is your kind of hierarchy of things you're looking for in a player, whether that's on the field attributes or off the field stuff?
yeah, good question. One of the first things I look for is how productive their first touch is. So when the ball first comes to them, what are they doing with it? Um, And the more productive their first touch is, obviously, the more I'm interested. And sometimes it doesn't require um, fancy display. It's just very, I'll take purposeful over fancy. Um, and then I like players that uh, are trying to have an impact right away on the play around them. So, for example, they'll pass the ball, but immediately move off the ball to be part of the maybe second pass or supporting if they get in trouble. So their mind is engaged. Um, it's amazing to me how many players will just pass the ball and then just go flat-footed and watch. Uh, and I want the player that, even if they're not the most skilled player out there, they're trying to be part of the solution. So those are some of the things I look for. And then as far as character, I think players need to remember that we're always looking at attitude on the field. So, for example, if I see a player um, just get very negative and critical over a trivial, debatable call by the referee um, early in the game, is that just that negativity shines through it. And as coaches, we think about, do I want to live with that for 4 years? So
Yeah, you're not the first person to to mention something like that that I've talked to, so that's good. Um, when you hear from players that are interested in your program, is there something that you really like to see or not like to see in those communications that you get from players?
I like to see that they've kind of done some research, and they themselves have reasons why they're considering your college. Uh, it may be the location. Maybe they're looking for to get out of a very dense inner city environment, and they're looking at Lyon because we're in a kind of a attractive scenic area. So I like the fact that they've done some research, um, and I also like it when they share that um, they want to compete. They don't want to deal with all the drama. They're looking for a place where they can just uh, compete, be positive, and look to get better. So when they communicate anything about coachability, uh, they don't pretend to know it all, and they're just trying to get better and be surrounded with uh, teammates that want to get better and looking for coaching that looks to develop players. That's music to my ears.
No, that's great. Well, let's learn a little bit more about the school. I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there maybe aren't familiar with Lyon in Arkansas, especially folks down near me in Florida. They probably aren't familiar at all. So, what are some of the awesome things about Lyon that you could tell us that maybe I won't find just by clicking around the website?
Yeah, well, Line is kind of more of a our reputation is regional and it's good, but like once you get out of uh, the neighboring states, uh, it's kind of like a hidden little secret. But one of the things we're known for is you get a high quality degree. Um, what I mean by that is if you're looking to go into graduate school, we have very high acceptance rates into graduate school. For example, our acceptance rate into medical school is double the national average. Um, so all the regional law schools, medical schools, physical therapy schools, they have a high regard for Lyon College graduates because they know they're getting a pretty rigorous academic experience. Um, I also like to say that Lyon College is for those that want to, especially student athletes, they want to live life to the fullest and they want to get a big bite out of their athletic experience and they want to get a big bite out of their academic. Uh, and we kind of feed that on both sides, which is one reason why one reason we have 2/3 of our student body are student athletes. And then we have the highest paid graduates in the state of Arkansas as well, because they go out and they want to succeed in their professional life as well. So
Okay. No, that's awesome. Well, with that academic rigor and the rigor of being an athlete, How do your players kind of balance those demands of school and sport, and what kind of support systems does the school have in place to help them with that?
Yeah, good question. Well, first of all, I think we naturally tend to draw students that are going to be um, on the cutting edge of uh, time management. And so they come in pretty well organized, and they can handle both pretty well. But if they don't, one thing I've been impressed with Lyon, I've been there for 7 years now, and this is my third college experience. Lyon probably has the best academic support structure I've seen. And it's both tailored to specific classes. So, for example, chemistry, for whatever reasons, tends to give a lot of students a lot of trouble. Well, they've got tutoring sessions set up just for that chemistry class where the tutor knows exactly what's coming up next week in the class and in the quiz and in the exam in 2 weeks, and they help students succeed in preparing for that. And it's so tailored that maybe after 6 weeks of tutoring, the tutor says, you know what, you're getting it. At this point, we can reduce it. We're only going to meet once a week. And then they may actually graduate from the tutoring and say, hey, you don't need this anymore. Uh, so I'm very impressed with that and how specific and how targeted it is for each student, where they're at academically, and where what classes are giving them trouble.
Okay. Well, can you walk me through what a typical week during the season looks like for a player in terms of, winter classes, meals, practice times, what's the game cadence and travel look like, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So at Lyon, which is not unusual, most of the classes will take place between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. And then Lyon tries to set aside 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. for practice time. So most of the practices will be a 2 hour time slot within there. It could be 4:30 to 6:30, um, for example. And I believe as a coach that if I can't get my session done in 2 hours, the problem at that point is not on the players, it's on me. I need to go back to the drawing board. So I don't have these marathon 3 hour, 3.5 hour practice sessions. Um, and then our game cadence is usually Tuesday and Saturday, or Wednesday and Saturday. Um, and then in Division 3, what I've noticed is every now and then, if there's two away games in the neighboring area, they'll do like a Friday and Sunday, so that on one trip you can get two of those more distant schools. So um, kind of nice, and just got to plan accordingly as far as fitness and endurance. That's part of the game.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the team and the soccer side of things. Is there a roster size that you try to hit each year that you find is ideal?
right now, realistically, I'm targeting a roster size of 24 to 26. And that enables us to have a full 11 on 11 scrimmage at the end of practices. Uh, lately my roster's been about 20, and I'm trying to grow that each recruiting cycle. But then we're in some ways we're the victim of our own success. I tend to graduate my players, and so they're moving through, and so we have to replace those as well. So
Yeah. Well, in terms of your roster size, how much of that is made up of staff? There's obviously you're the head coach there, but do you have other staff that work for you? And if so, what kind of roles do they play?
um, the roster size I was talking about is players.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
And
Yeah.
then as far as staff, we are looking. I did have an assistant coach during the season. Um, Resigned after the end of the season, is moving back into the coaching scene at the high school level. So we'll be hiring an assistant coach for next year, and really I'm looking for someone that's going to be working right alongside with me. I want them to have a big role as far as practices. So they may run an entire session, and I may be working with the goalkeeper, or vice versa. And obviously, they in college they have to help with the whole recruiting um, load as well. But yeah, I want someone that's going to be just kind of just like me, jumping in with both feet and getting involved as much as possible. So
Okay. Well, how would you describe your style of coaching and your team's style of play?
yeah, well, it's one of those where I've got to be realistic. So I'm not coaching the national team, or I'm not coaching a big time Division I program. Uh, and I say that because when if you are in one of those settings, you can kind of recruit the attributes specifically that you want for your style of play. I'm not in that boat, so I try to be more pragmatic, and I try to adapt my style of play to the talent I have on hand. Um, so I'm trying to set the players up for success that I have on any given year, um, to uh, to be competitive on the field, and sometimes that's also based on what we're playing against, to help us keep us in the game. Now, as far as my tendencies, I mean, I like the um, intelligent, purposeful, a lot of um, short passes and attacking the gaps. Uh, I love it when players can split two defenders, or they're on the two teammates on the same page, one making the run and another one hitting the space behind the defensive line, for example. I kind of like that incisive, intentional play, and finding the even the small openings. Because I find if you can exploit even small openings, you're going to be effective against most teams. So it's kind of like the French style. I kind of that kind of surfaces in my preferences. But at the same time, I've been in games where I've recognized that the long ball, they're pressing up so high that they're exposing 35 yards behind him. So sometimes you get speed on the wing and get a long ball behind it, and you can exploit that as well. So I try to be realistic as well.
Okay. Well, you and I are talking here in March, so it's the off season. What does your typical off season look like from, January through the time the kids get out of school?
Yeah, and that's been one of the new realities with transition to Division III, is that in the off season, the coach has to take a back seat, and is not allowed to be running sessions, especially early on. And so the team, and especially the captains, kind of take the steering wheel, and it's all voluntary, but they can set up some practice sessions for the team, and workouts and stuff like that, which has been neat to see my players and my captains take that really to heart, and really stepping it up, and you get to see who really is committed and wants to play soccer, and wants to use the off season to sharpen the. I always say you work on two fronts to really get better: is you make your weaknesses stronger and you make your strengths even stronger. Uh, and so the things that they're working on, and then here in a couple of weeks here, the latter half of March, I get to jump back in and start running some sessions. Um, so that's we're in that period, and then we'll have a spring round robin uh, games in April. So kind of
Okay.
give us a target to work for, and how sharp are we going to look come that game and those games in April.
Okay. Well, we've covered a lot of ground, talked about a lot of different things, and I'm going to leave you with one last question, and that is, if there was one nugget of information, piece of advice, something that you want to make sure every high school prospective college player or their parents knew, or you think should know about the college recruiting process, what would that be?
Wow, good question. I would one thing I guess I would say is to um, see the process um, as somewhat player driven, uh, and by that I mean that they have to, even the parents can be involved as far as giving advice, uh, come up with some priorities. What are they looking for in their college experience? and try to be granular, like as far as the location. I've been known to say, and I lived it as a college soccer player myself, is um, location is more important than distance. So some players and parents only use the distance factor. We want to school within 45 minutes. Well, there may be a college university that doesn't fit that distance criteria, but that fits everything else. And then be proactive as far as once you figured out some of the attributes you're looking for, and that could be even include, do I get along with this when I met this coach? Do I get along with this coach? Does his coaching style, does his personality echo positively with me? And to use that as well. Don't just say, okay, I meet all the criteria, but I've got these red flags as far as fitting in with this team. Usually those red flags will come back to haunt you, and they'll come back to haunt the coach as well. So for me, I'd much rather them do their homework and say, you know what, this is a good fit for me, and there's no red flags in this scenario. And I've sometimes in the recruiting process, there's a lot of players that ended up not going to line, which is absolutely fine. But what breaks my heart sometimes is I'm aware of where they're going, and I see the red flags, and then a year and a half later, and usually it's through a dad at a showcase, I find out how badly it went, and I just feel bad for them that that they experienced that for a year and a half, and you could kind of see it coming.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, Coach, wish you the best of luck in this next fall, your first D3 season. Hopefully everything goes well, and should be great to have you as a former D3 player myself. I love it, and hope that all your girls will as well. So best of luck, and if you ever get down to Bradenton, Florida area for any of your recruiting, give me a shout. We'll grab a cup of coffee. All right?
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt. And yeah, we'll definitely try to keep in touch.
Sounds good. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you.